Hi guys, so today I want to speak to you about theoretically how Sol gets to $1,000. So yeah, just before we jump into it, I do have to go over a disclaimer. Yes, it's a bit boring, but here we go. So please proceed with care. This video is not financial advice. Crypto is volatile and highly risky. No results are guaranteed. This content is for experienced users only, and there's a full legal disclaimer in the description below. Alright, let's get into it. So, before we go from here, I just want to jump into my story before we look at all the charts here. So, I essentially, back in 2021, got a text message from my mate. He said, "Yo, Tookie, need to buy some Solana." And I was like, "Mate, you've just told me to buy ADA. I don't have any more money to put into Sol." And he told me to buy it around the $40 mark. And as you know, how far it shot up, I missed out on an absolutely amazing investment. Like I said, 236 was the top last cycle, so essentially I missed out on a 6x, and this was my face here. Not the most impressed, but what I did do is I learned from this. Again, let's jump into it. So firstly, one thing I learned is diversify, not to go all in on one. Secondly, to set some cash aside for some other investments, aka Sol in this case. And third and most important, crypto cycles and how they work. So currently, what I did do in this situation was I begin to buy all the way down here. So I'll show you, I'll illustrate the example. I didn't end up buying any Solana, then ended up buying a little bit around here, and then I kind of sold it a little bit around here. And then I started to do some research in this period, and I saw that Solana was very kind of heavily tied to FTX and the collapse. And what I understood was that the fundamentals of Solana should not be kind of related to FTX, because FTX held a lot of Solana as collateral. When the business kind of folded, it meant that Solana price inevitably had to dump, because all the tokens will have to surge kind of back onto the market. So what I did was I identified that it's really severely undervalued, so I continued to buy. Unfortunately, not quite the peak, but I ended up buying around this period here. Ended up buying, and then I've been staking it. And since then, I've basically gone in there from around $15 to $20 mark, averaged in, and I've held it all the way up until this point now. So we're in a pretty healthy position right now. By far the best investment I've ever actually made in my life, I would say, so far. So yeah, let's jump into it. So where we are now with Sol, theoretically, can it hit $1,000? Well, let's see. But first of all, why has Sol's price gone up so much now? Essentially, it comes down to three main things. It's fast and cheap. It processes thousands of transactions per second, which is incredible. So from my personal experience using Solana, it works really well. It's very fast. It's faster than any other blockchain I've used, although it's kind of less reliable than something like ADA in my opinion. It's still very good, and it works very well, and it barely costs anything to send stuff. So if you want to use it, it's definitely one of the better ones. Again, it's got some really strong ecosystem growth. So at the moment, it's got projects like DeFi, NFTs, games. It's got a massive meme scene, Dog with Hat especially, like all these big coins. Render is on the Solana system, and that's an AI coin. So you've got lots of different kind of sectors here that are on Solana, and it's continuing to grow. And this, again, is attracting users and investors from all over the world. And the next thing, another massively important thing, is that ETFs are currently underway with it. So we've got spot ETFs from the likes of Vanek, 21 Shares, Canary Capital, and Bitwise, etc. So the list goes on, and it's looking really, really bullish. So let's go down. You might be thinking, yeah, that's cool, Tookie, but at the end of the day, what does it matter, mate? And yeah, I completely agree with you. But again, we're going to have to benchmark this against something else. And this is going to have to be Ethereum in this case, as this is the primary altcoin. This is the number one, and it's essentially one cycle ahead of Solana. So we look at Solana at the moment, and we look at Ethereum. Ethereum's market cap at the top last bull run, 552 billion. And that's before any institutional investment. From here, with Sol at a market cap of 105 billion, this would mean that in order for it to hit $1,000, it would need to be slightly less than what ETH achieved last run. Because again, we would need to times this by 5 to get 525 billion. And again, that's less than the 552. So 5x, certainly possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen or that you should wait for that, but it's definitely on the cards, and it's something that you should watch out for when you're investing and take into consideration. Again, like I said, is it possible? Yes. But it does, like I said here, it does have the benefit of being a new coin. So what happens when a newer coin is in place? It's kind of generally more volatile and generally can have more upside because it's less regulated when compared to other coins, because it's not quite as established. But I suppose Solana now has been around for a little bit, and it's now getting institutional investments as well. So it has got a lot of upside potential here. But like I said, in my situation, buying around the $15-20 mark, I personally will be scaling around $300 and not waiting for 500, let alone 1,000. The strategy I'm going to apply to sell out is once it hits around $300, I'm going to sell 20% of my bag, and then I'm going to sell another 20% of my bag at $350, then another 20% at $425, and then another 20% at $500, etc. So I'll cash out and then leave the last 20% to Moon. And so I want to make sure I win, and I hope you win as well. So here is Solana, hypothetically, to round it all off. Can Solana get to $1,000 by the end of the bull run, which is, in theory, going to be end of Q4, October, November, December, could split into Q1, January, Feb? I think it can, but I'm not saying it's going to. So what I would say is, like I mentioned, have your profit taking strategy. You can leave some to Moon, but again, don't expect 1,000 to happen. But 500 to 1,000, within that range, is very, very doable, and I think is likely to happen. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and have a good evening.